Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 269 of the Wannabe Clutter-Free podcast. On today, I have the absolute honor of speaking with someone whose work has shaped so much of how we think about happiness, habits, and human nature, the one and only Gretchen Rubin. She is known for her ability to convey complex ideas, from science to literature to stories from her own life, with levity and clarity, and I have been a fan of hers for a very long time. If you've been on any kind of personal growth journey over the past decade, chances are you've come across one of her many best-selling books. The Happiness Project, The Four Tendencies, Better Than Before, and Life in Five Senses, which have sold millions of copies in more than 30 languages, and now she's back with a new book called Secrets of Adulthood. But what I loved most about our conversation is that we didn't just talk about her books. We talked about how her ideas actually play out in our homes, our habits, and our everyday lives. She is also host of the popular podcast Happier with Gretchen Rubin and founder of the award-winning Happier app, which helps people track their happiness-boosting habits. Gretchen Rubin has been interviewed by Oprah, eaten dinner with Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman, walked arm in arm with the Dalai Lama, had her work reported on in a medical journal, been written up in the New Yorker, and has even been an answer on Jeopardy! After starting her career in law, she realized she wanted to be a writer while she was clerking for Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, and she was raised in Kansas City, and she now lives in New York with her family. I loved this conversation, and after I got over my slightly cringe fangirl moment at the beginning, I've read most of her books, and I just feel like I know her. I felt like we were two friends chatting over coffee about shared interests and ideas. We talked about how clutter affects our happiness, how to make it easier to get your clutter under control, and why rediscovering what delights you is such a powerful step in letting go of what doesn't. And of course, I asked her some practical questions about getting started, staying motivated, and how to work with your personality, not against it, especially when you're trying to create a home you love. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this episode, please take a second to hit that subscribe or follow button so that you don't miss the amazing conversations that are coming your way. And hey, if you want to connect outside of the show, come find me on Instagram. I am at Wannabe Clutter Free, or in our private Facebook group, the Wannabe Minimalist Family, or get show notes and comment on today's episode by heading to wannabeclutterfree.com/269. All right, let's get into it. Well, hi Gretchen. Thank you so much for coming on Wannabe Clutter Free. How you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be talking to you.
I am thrilled. I'm going to try not to fangirl too much as we get through this conversation, but I am just really excited to have you here. And I always start these interviews with an intro, but your official bio is so packed with impressive accomplishments. You're a best-selling author, you're a podcast host, you've walked with the Dalai Lama, and I've already shared all of that with my listeners. So I want to start with something a little different today. What is something that you are loving or learning about yourself lately that might surprise people?
Well, I am watercoloring every day. I've never sort of done visual arts. I'm not particularly good at it, but I decided that I really wanted to bring this into my life. And I have to confess, I said I was going to do it every single day in 2025 because I love to do something like every day or kind of never. I'm sort of an all or nothing kind of person. And we got a new puppy, Taffy, and that has made it hard for me to manage because I will never push back. I will never stay up late to do something optional because I'm such a sleep zealot. So I have missed days of watercoloring, but I'm doing tons of watercoloring, much more than I've ever done before in my life. And it's very kind of out of character for me to do that. And I'm loving it.
Oh, that's really fun. Okay. That is a surprise. It wasn't something I expected. I love that. Well, and it's interesting that you say that you are an all or nothing person and that you have to dive all in. And one of the things that you talk about is being Gretchen. And so it's just so nice that you have figured that out about yourself. And you've explored so many areas of life: happiness, habits, personality, even your five senses. But I am curious, how has your personal relationship with stuff? Because one of your books is Outer Order, Inner Calm, and you talk about stuff a lot in your Happier at Home book. And the relationship with stuff, I think, really it weaves itself into so many different areas of our life. So whether that's clutter, organizing, holding on to things, how has it changed for you over the years as you've dug deeper into human nature?
I am just absolutely fascinated by people's relationships to their possessions. This is something that's preoccupied. In law school, I wrote a paper about why owners would destroy their own possessions, and I actually ended up writing a little book about that. So I'm very interested in possessions, and I don't know about you, but there are people who will get rid of everything. You just be happy if it. I met a guy who's like, everything I have fits in a backpack, and you'd be happy if you lived like that too. And I'm like, buddy, that is not the common experience of mankind. It may work for you, but that is not something that is a universal truth. But it is something where people are really different. How much order they want versus how much, like my sister is clutter blind. She doesn't see clutter. Like on balance, she likes it when things are tidy, but it doesn't bother her the way that it bothers me. Like she doesn't bother to close the kitchen cabinet door. She doesn't care. She does now because her husband cares. And so she does it out of consideration for him, but not because it matters to her. Whereas like closing a kitchen cabinet door, I'm like, who are we? Like, why would we not? This isn't even a question, you know? But and another thing I've seen is like simplicity versus abundance lovers. So like there's simplicity lovers who love simplicity and like bare shelves. And like I have an empty shelf because I love having an empty shelf. But then there are abundance lovers. Like one of my daughters is an abundance lover and literally every surface is covered. But it's not clutter. She's put everything deliberately. It's all organized. It's all something that she wants and values. So it's not like she's just tossed it in there. But to me, it's really overwhelming. So it's like, we can all understand that we each are different in our relationship, but what a simplicity lover might feel kind of like beautiful emptiness and space to an abundance lover might feel kind of sterile and stripped. So it's not like who's right and who's wrong, but just like how do we create environments where we all feel comfortable and we all thrive? And like learning that about myself, like turns out I love whimsy. I love to like project my identity into spaces through sort of unexpected kind of whimsical touches. Well, this is something that it took me a long time to understand how much I valued that.
Yeah. And I think part of it too are stages of life. Like we also, as a family, like the single guy with the backpack, of course, that makes sense. As he gets a family, it's not going to be so easy.
Well, this is like Marie Kondo, because I read this and I was like, there's something that's really striking about Marie Kondo, which is that she doesn't have a family. And she said how now that she has children, it's like it's very different. Yeah. So it's definitely a season of life question.
Yeah, and I think it's stages too, right? You could still be a simplicity lover, but understand that as you have children, you're going to have a little bit more and you have more personalities to work in. So yeah, I find that fascinating.
But I think that's a good thing to notice too, is that like for somebody having a family, like that could be a source of stress that someone else would not experience. Like many people who really love order will talk about like, it's just stressful for them to live in a house where there's just a lot of chaos. Whereas for somebody else, that wouldn't particularly bother them. And that's not, well, you need to change or that's right or that's wrong. It's just like, well, this is something that's stressful for you. And maybe the people around you don't understand that it's stressful for you because they don't feel that stress. And so the question isn't, well, you're really inconsiderate. It's more like, I don't think you understand my perspective on this. And like, how do we create systems where maybe we can meet in the middle?
Yeah. How are one of the ways, like what's a way you've done that, whether that's with your family or like even with your sister, right? Where you guys are very different, but you're meeting in the middle, or your daughter, you said.
Well, like one thing is to make things as convenient as possible because people are more likely to stick with systems if they're convenient. And like one thing that really bothered me is that everybody would just throw their coats around. Me too. And I realized that the reason why was our coat closets were very full. And so it was really hard to hang up a coat and then wrestle it onto the rod. And so I got rid of a lot of coats and then I put up a bunch of hooks. And so now it's like for like the coat that you're wearing day to day, you just put it on the hook. And then if you were hanging it up, it was easier because there was just more room. And so just by making it easier, that really, it didn't 100% solve the problem, but it really did. It really, like 80% of the problem went away because it was just easy enough to do it. Another thing a lot of times with toys is like sometimes people have unrealistic expectations of how organized toys should be. Oh, here's one of my favorite hacks for families and clutter. Okay, this is something I'm super proud of. I wrote about this in Happier at Home and I love it. Okay, You know, the problem when you have kids is that they get these little things that are fun. They're like cool. Like it's a super ball with glitter in it, or it's a little teeny tiny set of colored pencils, or just like this stuff, or a figurine of a polar bear. And you're like, it's cool. It's not junk. It's not trash. But where does it go? It's too little. It just is this stuff that just like permeates everywhere. There's nowhere to put it away, and there's no order to it. So but then I'm like a little kid. I think that this little tiny set of colored pencils is cool too. I don't want to get rid of it. So I went and got a bunch of apothecary jars, but I would recommend getting acrylic or lucite or something, or some kind of plastic, not glass, because glass is breakable, but I made the mistake and got glass. And I got 6 or 7 of them, and then I just dumped all that stuff into these jars. I still maintain them to this day. I still am adding stuff to the jars. They look very interesting on the shelf because they're colorful and bright but organized, so they're very decorative. And then if you have like little kids come over, you just like, dump out everything in the jar, and you're like, you can keep 3 things, and then they'll just spend hours going through everything in the jar. And then when you have like little craft projects where you're supposed to like, I don't know, these things that you have to create when your kids are in school, and you're like, I need a bunch of stuff to super glue to a poster board or hot glue onto a baseball cap or something. You're like, what the heck am I going to do with this? You just look through the jars, and there's always stuff in there. So it gives you a way to organize and keep in a coherent and very beautiful way all these like little bits and bobs. And they're super fun. Like, it's very fun to have them. So anyway, so sometimes you just have to stop and think, well, I always say identify the problem. What is the problem? The problem is it's really hard to hang up your coat. The other thing is, it's not really hard to hang up your coat, but let's just say it's hard enough that people don't do it. And then what do you do with all of this kind of detritus of childhood that's not trash, but isn't really a toy?
I love that. Practical, functional, beautiful, checks all the boxes. So that is such a fun tip and something that any of us can go out and do right away. So I love that. Thank you. That's a really fun one. I knew it as soon as you got it and you started talking about it, I was like, oh, I know where she's going with this. And I love this tip. So that one's so great.
Yeah, I think I read about this in Happier at Home. Yeah, and I love those, my jars.
Yeah, those are so fun. The other book that I loved of yours was Outer Order, Inner Calm. And I think I've already just mentioned it before, but it's so quick to the point. It's practical, it's functional, it gives you some really great tips and bite-sized. It's a bite-sized book and it gives you bite-sized tips, but small is mighty in this case. And it ends with 10 tips for creating outer order. Do you find that you have a favorite on that list or a tip that you've seen the most helpful for people over the years?
The one thing that people mention to me over and over again is the 1-minute rule. And this is the idea that if there's something that you can do in less than a minute, you do it without delay. So you hang up your coat, you put your mug in the dishwasher, you print out a document and put it in a file, you shred something, you sort through your junk mail and put it into recycling right away. And what this does is it just gets rid of that sort of scum of clutter that is on the surface of everyday life. And the problem is none of these things are consequential, but if they add up, they start to make us feel very weighed down. You feel like you're just wading through all of this sort of grit and grime. And if it builds up, then it does. That's when you then need to take real time and effort to clear it out. But if you do it just a minute at a time, you're just doing it as you're going about your day. And it's funny because this doesn't seem, you're like, it doesn't seem like a very big deal, but many people have said, oh, this has totally transformed my environment.
Yeah, because it does. It's that little molehill that turns into the mountain, right? It just becomes so difficult and almost paralyzing. You almost just feel, I don't even know where to start. And it could just be this one tiny little thing. Yeah. And also, I think people often feel that something's going to take a lot longer than it does. So emptying the dishwasher takes maybe 2 minutes, and you think it's just going to take forever, and it feels so overwhelming, but it really can be done quickly. Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of 2 hacks. One hack is actually time things, because you're exactly right. I always think everything takes 20 minutes. I'm like, or 30 minutes. It's going to take a half an hour to take a shower and dry my hair. It's going to take a half an hour to. It's like, actually time it, because a lot of times you are pleasantly surprised, or at least you're more realistic. And the other thing is, like, we often overestimate what we can get done in a short amount of time, and we underestimate what we can get done if we do a little bit at a time consistently over the long term. So, like, if you spent 15 minutes clearing clutter out of your basement every day for a month, you would probably be very surprised by how much you could get done. Whereas if you were like, okay, I'm going to spend Saturday clearing the basement, you might feel like, oh, I thought I would get the whole thing cleared out, even though, okay, that's not very realistic. So we're not very good at estimating. That's why I'm a big fan of like slow and steady, because I do feel like it's more realistic for a lot of people to chip away at a big problem over the long term. And then sometimes you get caught up in it. You think you're going to do it for 15 minutes and then you get the high of clutter clearing and you're like, I can't stop. And then you just get carried away.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, a whole day on a Saturday might end up almost being close to the same amount of time you would spend if you did 15 minutes at a time over a month. But it's so much. Your brain can only focus so much at one time, and you get tired and you get interrupted and all these things happen. And yeah, I'm also a fan of the slow and steady approach. I think you can get more done.
But I would add that for some people, the sprint is more satisfying. I will say that you and I sound like we're the same, but there are people who are like, they're not interested in doing things incremental. They're not interested in like slow change. They want to go big or go home. They want to do something dramatic. And so for them, if you know that you're that kind of person, if you're like, it sounds way more appealing to me to spend like the whole day Saturday, it's make it into a whole thing. Set aside the day. Get your power snacks and your power drinks and get everything you need. Maybe you need a friend, because as you say, it can be hard to stay focused. For some people, they like to do it alone, but I think for many people, it's helpful to have somebody there just to do the drudge work. Will you put this box into the recycling, or will you put this in the donation box while I go through this? And sometimes somebody will help you stay focused, because you're like, oh, let me look through my parents' yearbooks. And that's not what we're doing right now. You can do that later. Or to help you decide. I just helped my sister clear her closet. And there were so many things where she's like, because I was there, I'm like, realistically, do you think that looks good? I'm just saying objectively, do you think that shirt looks good on you? And she's like, well, actually, no. And I'm like, then why are you wanting to keep it? Don't you think you should donate it? Because it will look good on someone else. You just need somebody to talk you through. So I'm a big fan on having someone help. But again, that's not true for everyone. Some people really want to be alone and like undistracted. But I do think like setting aside the day and telling people like, I'm not going to drop everything and run off to go to a movie, as this is what this day is, and we're really setting aside and making it into a thing so we can make significant progress.
Yeah, I think it helps, like you were saying, ask yourself, what feels better to me? What do I think is going to work? And then give it a try.
Because some people are like, spending my whole Saturday cleaning, I can think of nothing worse. Where somebody is, oh my gosh, I'd rather just blow through it and like beginning, middle, end, and have the excitement of the finish line in one day. And again, it's not that one is right or one is wrong or one is better and one is worse or one is going to be more successful than the other. It's just what kind of approach works for you and to your stage of life. Because you're right, like there's some people where they're like, look, the idea that I would take a whole Saturday and devote it to something like this, that is not realistic. Okay, so at this season of life, that's not something that you would do. Maybe you would at a different stage. Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to do it so that you can tailor it for the way that's most realistic for you at this stage, given who you are.
So true. So very true. All right, we're going to pause for a quick break to hear from the sponsors who make this show possible. Let's talk about junk drawers. I heard you say recently that you like to keep a junk drawer, and I like to call our junk drawer our utility drawer because it reminds me to keep things that are useful in there. And so what are your thoughts on maybe renaming our drawers or having drawers for specific purposes?
I love this example because I really think that vocabulary matters. This is something that has surprised me over the years because I was sort of like, things are what they are, the facts are the facts, like why get caught up in vocabulary? But I realized like vocabulary matters tremendously. Like with the Happiness Project, a lot of people said to me, well, you can't call your book the Happiness Project. And I was like, I think a happiness project sounds amazing. I love the idea of a happiness project. They're like, no, that sounds like homework. That sounds like your science project. Nobody wants to do a project. I was like, well, that's interesting. Because to me, a happiness project sounds very appealing. But then I'm not interested in the journey. A lot of people talk about the journey. That's not something that appeals to me. And I love that you like utility. That's so interesting because you're like, I want to remind myself that these are things that are useful. And for you, that's interesting. Whereas I kind of like the junk drawer of it. I like the fact of it's sort of unexpected. You know how there's always like, what are you going to find on the junk pile? Or what's the hidden treasure? Or like, I'm just going to put things there, kind of I'm dumping. But I could imagine somebody calling it a dump drawer or an everything drawer. Really, in my family, I call it my junk drawer or my special drawer. I'll say to my family, that's in my special drawer. And they know that's the drawer in the kitchen where that's what it is. But I think it's interesting to think about what you want, how you want to describe something to yourself. Let's say you have a room in your house. Is it an office? Is it a study? Is it a library? What is it? And is it a playroom? Is it a music room? Is it a family room? Is it a homework room? What is it, a study room? Like, who knows? But I love that you have utility. I think that's a really good, that's not what I want to remind myself of it, but I love that idea that it could be conceived of as that way.
Well, it comes back to the whimsy. You said earlier, you like the whimsy. You like that moment of unexpectedness. And so it would make sense that you want to call your drawer something a little less utilitarian than myself.
But can I tell you, it's actually a utility drawer. There's no whimsy. Now I'm thinking, I got to put something whimsical in there because it's just the tape, the stapler, the glue stick, the pens, the stamp, all that stuff, the address stamp, it's all that stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, so interesting. Well, I have really enjoyed all of your books, but one that I do refer back to because I think it was surprising to me was The Four Tendencies. I am an obliger, much to my chagrin, and
no, they're all great tendencies. That's a great tendency.
It is, but it irks me that I naturally hold other people's expectations and demands above my own. And I don't know why, but that just, I want to be able to hold my own self to those high standards too. But for some reason, I just want to take care of other people first. And I put off things for myself more than I would put off things for others. So yes, I understand there's tweaks and twerks there. So what advice would you give for those of us that struggle with the change that they want to make because they struggle with follow through? That's where I find my problem coming.
Well, should I briefly describe the Four Tendencies?
Yes, please do.
So I'm going to briefly describe this, but you can, if people want to like take a quiz and get an answer or read all about it, and they on my site GretchenRubin.com, there's 3 million people have taken this quiz now. So it's quick and easy and free, but I'll just describe it and most people will know what they are. So what this looks at is something that sounds really boring, but ends up being really, really important for many reasons. But one of the most important is the one that you pointed to, which is it really helps you understand how to get yourself to follow through with something. Or what's more fun, how to get somebody else to follow through with something that you want them to do. What it looks at is how we respond to expectations. So we all face two kinds of expectations: outer expectations, like a work deadline, and inner expectations, like my own desire to clean out the basement. So depending on whether we meet or resist outer and inner expectations, that's what makes us an upholder, a questioner, an obliger, like you, or a rebel. So upholders are people who readily meet outer and inner expectations. So they meet the work deadline, they keep the New Year's resolution without much fuss. They want to know what other people expect from them, but their expectations for themselves are just as important. And they can sometimes be rigid because they're so focused on like execution and follow through. So their motto is discipline is my freedom. Then there are that's my tendency, by the way. I'm an upholder. Then there are questioners, and questioners question all expectations. They'll do something if they think it makes sense. So they need reasons, rationale, justification. So they're asking themselves what makes sense. So if it meets their inner standard, yes, it makes sense. They'll do it no problem. If it fails their inner standard, they will resist. They tend to love to customize. They tend to love to monitor. They love research. So their motto is, I'll comply if you convince me why. Then there are obligers. Now, this is the biggest tendency. This is the one that the most people belong to for both men and women. You are in excellent company. Tiger Woods was an obliger. Oprah Winfrey is an obliger. Princess Di was an obliger. There's so many obligers that they make great leaders, great team members, great friends, great family members. I've had people tell me they only want to hire obligers. They want to help me screen for obligers. Because obligers are the people who readily meet outer expectations, but they struggle to meet their expectations for themselves. So these are the people that say, why do I keep my promises to everybody else, but I struggle to keep my promises to myself? But the good news for obligers is that the solution is extremely straightforward. Outer accountability. Even to meet an inner expectation, an obliger must have a form of outer accountability. You want to exercise? You work out with a trainer who's going to charge you. You work out with a friend who's going to be annoyed if you don't show up. You take your dog for a run because she's so sad if she doesn't get to go for a run. You raise money for a charity. You think of your duty to be a role model for someone else. There's a million ways to create outer accountability once you know that is what you need. That is what obligers need. So their motto is, you can count on me, and I'm counting on you to count on me. And then finally, rebels. And this is the smallest tendency. Rebels resist all expectations, outer and inner alike. They want to do what they want to do in their own way, in their own time. They can do anything they choose to do, but if you ask or tell them to do something, they're very likely to resist. And typically they don't tell themselves what to do. Like they don't sign up for a 10 a.m. woodworking class on Saturday because they think, oh, I don't know what I'm going to want to do on Saturday. And just the idea that someone's expecting me to show up is going to annoy me. So their motto is, you can't make me, and neither can I. And so you said you don't like being an obliger, but obliger, there's tremendous strength in the obliger tendency, and it's also the biggest tendency. So, you don't need to change. There is nothing wrong with you. It's just helpful if you understand how to counteract it. All the tendencies have strengths and weaknesses, and whatever your tendency, you need to figure out, well, how do you offset the limitations and weaknesses of that tendency so you can have the life you want?
Well, at least I know I'm in good company. Not even good company, amazing company. Like, holy moly, okay. And yeah, you're right. Like, I do just have to make sure that and it doesn't necessarily have to be that I'm doing it for someone else, as long as I just put someone else or a different idea, an outward expectation on myself. So having deadlines for things help. If it's forward facing, if I know, like, I'll do things on this podcast and say, I've got this coming up. And as long as I feel like people on the other end listening to this are like, okay, hey, you didn't do that thing, then it is easier for me to do those things. So thank you.
Well, literally, I was just talking to somebody who has a Substack newsletter, which she keeps very faithfully. But what she wants to do is to do social media. And she's, I'm trying to make it fun. I'm trying to want to do it, and I can't do it. I'm like, no, you need outer accountability. Why don't you tell all the people who subscribe to your newsletter, oh, you're going to see me on social media every day, and here I go, watch me, and oh, in this newsletter, I'm going to say, check my social media because I'll have this tip for you. And then have a couple people who are in the same boat and say, every day we're going to give each other a thumbs up when we do our social media posting so that we're holding each other accountable. We'll be an accountability group for each other. Because you've got to create that outer accountability for something. Because sometimes what obligers do is they're like, I just need to learn to put myself first, or I need to make myself a priority, or I need to make it fun, or I need to make it social. It's like those things can help, but the crucial thing is the outer accountability. If you say, how do I follow through better for myself? I'm like, if you're an obliger, it's outer accountability, and that is crucial. It's not an option. It's like the necessary piece.
Yeah. All right. I will just keep working on it. I love it. Thank you. No, that's really helpful. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate the breakdown. And I think that part is going to be super helpful for everyone listening as well. So
I love talking about the four tendencies. It's just endlessly fascinating to hear how different tendencies approach different questions. You don't realize how differently people view the world. It's surprising. Yes.
Yes, because you think everyone's like you.
You do. It's very hard. I'm constantly banging against that. Even now when I'm every single minute of my life, I feel like I'm saying, how am I seeing this differently from someone else? And then you find some quirk That, like, my next book is about the empty nest because I'm in the empty nest phase. So I'm going to write a book about the empty nest. And one of the things is it's surfacing for me all these distinctions in that explain like why people go into the empty nest and have different responses. Well, there's such a huge mix of things, but it's like some people are tree people and some people are book people. So like book people are people who love to start new chapters, and they're like, my life is a book of short stories and I like to reinvent myself. And then there's tree people, and tree people want to be rooted in place. Like they want to grow from a center. And so if you have a married couple and one is, oh, this is amazing, empty nest, now we can move to the beach. And the other person is, what are you talking about? How can we walk away from our memories and our community? It's probably because the book person had to be like a tree person because of children, but now they want to turn the page. But the other person's, I don't want to turn the page. I want to stay here. And it's not that one person's right and one person's wrong, but it can help you, having a vocabulary for it can help you see, we can talk about this as just a different way of going through the world. It's not that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're heartless, or you refuse to change. It's, well, this is my way and that is your way. So how can we find a way that both of us thrive?
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Okay, well, we're a few years out, but I'm happy actually right now thinking that both my husband and I are both book people. We have done lots of different adventurous things. We've lived lots of different lives. I talk about that all the time, like how I'm like, oh gosh, that was a totally different life, like before children and traveling and starting businesses and traveling with our children, with our child. And so anyway, yeah, ooh.
See, and my husband and I are tree people. My husband lives right around the corner from where he grew up. He's that tree. He's a tree person like that. And then in New York City, I was like, just be clear, I'm not going to move 10 blocks. I will never live 10 blocks away from, more than 10 blocks away from where I live right now. So I'm just like, if you have fantasies of moving downtown, you can just stop it right now. And he's okay. You know what I mean? Because we're both tree. But so you and I are both lucky because it's 2 books and 2 trees. But you can see how in a couple, they might not have realized, or like maybe they're in the military. And so a book person, a tree person has never been able to be tree, has never been able to express that tree part of themselves. And the minute they can stop moving, they're like, oh my gosh, now I want to root down. But married to a book person, they're like, oh, this is great. We don't need to stop. Let's keep going. Because it was hidden by circumstance. It was a distinction that you didn't realize because it wasn't within your control yet.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Oh, I'm excited. I'm very excited to read that one. Yeah, that'll be fun. We're still a few years out, but I think it'll be helpful to have it ahead of time. Always good to have planning. Yeah. Awesome. Well, and one other thing, you are a big fan of your environmental design and setting up your surroundings to support your habits. We were talking about it earlier with the hooks and the coats. So what is something in your home that you've changed or set up recently that has made life run more smoothly?
Well, because of the watercolor that I was talking about, it took me a little while to figure out like where I could create a station. And now I've created a station where it's like the desk is covered with craft paper. And one of the podcast listeners of the Happier podcast was like, oh, I got this rolling cart for like less than $50. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need this rolling cart right now. And so it's like, I've got all my paper, I've got all my pens and my palettes and my brushes and my eraser and my hairdryer, because if you're doing watercolor, you need a hairdryer and all these things. And it's all nicely organized. And if I need to move it, it's on a rolling cart. I just move it where I need it to go. But I can basically leave everything set up, because when you're doing something like that, it's like, again, convenience is everything. If I could just sit down, spray my palette and go, that's so much easier than even taking 30 seconds to set up a station. Even that is enough to turn us. There's hilarious research on how influenced by convenience people's behavior is. Like, they did this study where people were at a salad bar, and if people had spoons, they took a lot more food than if they used tongs, because it's just easier to get food on a spoon than to get it with a tong. And just that little bit of extra work meant people took significantly less. And so I realized, like with the watercoloring, I needed to bring down the friction as low as possible. So that's something that is like changed in my environment recently that has made a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, and it has such implications for everything in your life right there, right? As the salad bar owner, you want tongs because you want people to take less food so that you're making more money and having higher margins. As somebody, if you're...
Unless you charge by weight, in which case you want the spoons.
Ooh, then you want the spoon. Oh my gosh, you're right. Or if you're somebody who's trying to lose weight, think about using the tongs versus the spoon. You're not going to feel deprived because you didn't even realize you were taking less. Oh, so interesting. Oh, that is fascinating.
Yeah. Well, then they did a similar study where it was what do you call it? Like a container of frozen treats. And you know how they have the kind of sliding tops where the top slides over? And they realized even if it was a see-through top, if it was open, so you just reached in and grabbed it and like to an open case, people took far more than if they even had to just slide the top open. That's such an inconsequential little bit of work. And so this is actually a really helpful thing if you're trying to change a habit. Let's say you're trying to stay off your phone. It's put your phone in a drawer in another room. Turn it to grayscale so it's black, white, and gray, so it's a lot less convenient to use all of your familiar apps or to look at your phone for information or for fun. You know, if you want to spend less time on a particular app, put it deep into your phone so you have to click, swipe, click. Don't put it on your home screen where you just hit it with your thumb every time you walk past it. There's a lot of ways. I remember a guy I know I shouldn't check my phone while I'm driving, but I hear the pinging next to me and I just can't resist. And I'm like, put it in your trunk or underneath the seat in the back seat. And he's like, but then I won't be able to look at it. And I'm like, that is right. That's the point. Don't even put it in the glove box because you'll get it out of the glove box. You got to put it out of reach.
Wow, interesting. Oh, so fascinating. I have taken to actually deleting the apps off of my home screen because it's still there. I can get it if I want to, but I have to go search for it. So I even have to write it out by name and be very purposeful about the fact that I actually want that app at a time. Yeah.
I've also heard of people who want to do more reading on their e-readers. So they'll put let's say that they spend too much time on Instagram. They would replace the e-reader app for Instagram so that you've got that kind of thumb memory where you're just tapping. And so then the book pops up. Because again, you can still get to Instagram, but it's reminding you, this is what I really want to do. Or people use their lock screen to say something like tennis or nature, to be like reminding you, hey, remember nature, don't forget about nature, go out in nature, where's the nature today? Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that we can build these cues into our environment, even in an environment as small as our phone.
So good. All right, I'm going to switch gears to your newest book, the one that is out now, not the one you're writing, but The Secrets of Adulthood. It is a nice, short, quippy book. It's filled with aphorisms and lessons for life. I marked several of them. I've got lots of little tabs.
Ooh, I love hearing what other people found striking.
Yeah, okay. Let me tell you, I loved it goes back to our vocabulary one. The focus on actions, not outcomes. So don't try to learn to play the guitar. Instead, play the guitar for 20 minutes every day. Like you're watercoloring. You're not learning to you are watercoloring every day. So things like that become more of action-oriented or more habit-focused versus the outcome of I'm going to be this thing or whatever. I loved that one. There's a couple more. Let's see, what other one did I love? I loved, this one. Choices are challenging. So packing to leave is much harder than packing to return.
Yes. No, right? Decision fatigue.
Yeah. I think that has such implications for the audience of this show of want to be clutter free. And as you're decluttering all of the choices that you have to make or choosing to bring things into your home and knowing that making those choices. But I think you've given us tons of information and things that we can take today of setting up these zones, right? Setting up things that make things that you want to do easier and the things that you don't want to do harder. So how can you look and shift your perspective a little bit? It's less about how much stuff you own, the quantity of stuff, because like you said, everybody has different thresholds. Your sister's clutter blind. Some people are not upset by mess. Some people appreciate abundance and some people want the simplicity, but you just have to make those first choices for yourself. And those are the hard ones, right? Figuring out what do I want to keep? What do I want to get rid of?
It's surprisingly taxing. And that's why I think, I was saying to my sister, it's so much easier for me. I feel it's so much more fun for me to clear her clutter because I don't have the emotional attachment. And so that's why sometimes it's good to have a friend with you because you have it's more fatiguing for you because there's all these elements that come into play. And it's not that those aren't important. Like, I do think it's really important. Like, if something has sentimental value, it's not like that isn't significant. I'm like, that's very significant. But could you take a picture of it? Do you need the actual thing? Or like, if this is a t-shirt, do you need to keep it in your active closet? Or could you put it in like a distant closet because it's a memento? It's not really like an article of clothing anymore. But sometimes people think that I'm just like, oh, you should just get rid of everything. And it's like, no, because sometimes things are. I have a ton of things from my children's childhood that I just have because I want them. But I picked them and I chose them. And I got rid of the gorgeous play kitchen, which I loved more than anything, but it was this huge play kitchen. It's like, I live in a New York City apartment. I'm sorry. At a certain point, I got to let the play kitchen. But this is a great, okay, I just have to say this was one of the most clutter clearing, happy moments of my life. So my husband we needed to get rid of this beautiful play kitchen. This wooden play kitchen it was like the cutest one I'd ever seen. My daughters have played with it for so long because my daughters are 6 years apart. So it had a long life. But it was time to get rid of it. But how? And my husband was like, oh, I have a friend who has 3 little girls. And so I'll see if she wants it. So they came in their station wagon and they took it away. And then the next morning I got an email saying, I feel like a bad mother because clearly I have deprived my daughters of kitchen play for their whole lives because they got up at dawn and they have been standing in the play kitchen for hours. Because we had the play food and we had the play whisk and the spatula. We had the whole thing. And the idea of these 3 little girls so excited and it just appearing like a fairy godmother just dropped this thing in their lap. I get so much pleasure out of that. All 3 of my daughters too, and my husband, because it was his friend. We all get so much pleasure from that. So much more pleasure than we would have if this thing was just like sitting in some kind of like basement storage locker gathering dust. And then we have reclaimed the space, which was like, because we live in a New York City apartment, like it was really valuable space.
Yeah. Oh, I love that story so much. Actually, I'm going to do a little plug here. I actually wrote a children's picture book about this kind of concept of helping children give their stuff away and knowing that their stuff is going to help someone else, right? Because it is so hard, I think, when we start to, especially with our littler kids, we're going to donate this and it's going to help someone else. And they're like, huh? I don't get that. I'm losing it. And it was kind of about that idea, the joy of giving. And I really, I love that because it's such a light experience and it fills you with so much happiness and joy. And you don't realize that it's going to do that as you're kind of parting with it. Because there are those sad, bittersweet moments of like, oh, but I remember this time when they were playing there and I remember watching them do something together. But oh, I love that story. That's so fun.
I will also say to a child who's not so high-minded, sometimes it works to be about being big or little. Oh, I know a little kid who really loves these. And I was wondering, like, now that you're so much bigger, do you feel like you want to play with these anymore? And because my kids would be like, no, I'm like beyond that now. And then so it was more about like aging out of a toy. And so then they were like, oh, I will graciously give it to some unsophisticated 5-year-old because now I'm 8, so I cannot, of course. And then we also always kept a few, like Polly Pockets. We're going to keep the best Polly Pockets, of course. But then what about all these other ones? And then they'd be like, yeah, I don't need to keep all those ones. But and I do think that there is something precious to us about anything that our children loved or even touched. It can feel almost inauspicious to let those things go. And so you really have to grapple with those emotions.
Yeah, so true. So true.
But okay, let's just say the people that keep everything, that have their attic and their garage and their basement full, they regret it. Everybody regrets it. It's not that is really rough, postponing it that way.
Yeah, and the older you get, the harder it is to get rid of these things. And the more they become entrenched with memory and just, it's so much harder. And your family doesn't want it.
Yeah, no, it's so much harder. Yes.
Yeah. So do it now. You won't regret it. You really won't. You really won't. There's one more in here in the book that I want to talk about, and it's a little bit of a story. It's the story about Michelangelo. And yes, so I'm going to read a little bit. It says, it's easy to assume that accomplishing a difficult task would be easier in a different moment. Quote, before I had kids, quote, next summer, quote, 10 years ago, it made me think when COVID hit, right? We all thought we were going to declutter and use up all our stuff. So in 1512, after completing the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo wrote to his father, I have finished the chapel I was painting. The Pope is very happy with it, but other things haven't turned out as well as I had hoped. I blame the time, which are so unfavorable to our art.
Yes. And then he was living in the high Renaissance, which is now we look back on as like the apex of sort of dedication to the arts. But to him, he was doing hard things. If it's hard, it always feels hard.
Yeah. So I think that's just a reminder to all of us. It's okay if something feels hard. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that it's not a worthy pursuit. The things that are worthy generally are not easy. If they were easy, you would have already done it. We already talked about ease in our life. It doesn't mean that it can't be easier. Doesn't mean that it has to be super hard, that you're always pushing. But yeah, I don't know. I loved that part because it's just such a great reminder that it's okay if maybe it is just we're not looking at it the right way. We don't have the full vision. We don't have the full experience to know that maybe this is the right thing.
This is the right time. Or yeah, looking back, we'll be like, well, why didn't I do it then? Yeah, it's funny that one of the things that I think is so paradoxical about clutter, and tell me if you agree, is that a lot of times when you get rid of all your clutter, you feel like you have more. Again, I helped my sister clean out her closet, and she said, now I feel like I have so much more to wear. And like we cleaned out our kitchen and we had all these like bits and bobs and things that we never use. And now it's, oh my gosh, we're using all of our kitchen equipment much more because we don't have the rice cooker or the bread maker, all this stuff that we never used that was just sort of cluttering up. So it's like my husband uses his air fryer like at least once a week because now it's like, oh, this is this gizmo that we actually like to use. But it's funny because I think before clutter, people often feel like, well, I'll feel so deprived or I'll feel like I'll be stripped. But actually you feel like you have more. And it's just this very paradoxical thing, right?
Yeah, I think it also comes down to that ease of use, right? It's easier now to get to the air fryer. You can get to all the things, the clothes that you have that you love, because otherwise you're feeling so just negative toward your closet, right? Like your sister having a closet full of stuff that she didn't wear, that she overlooked, that she didn't feel great in. It doesn't make you feel good. And when you have all the things that you love around you, you feel more fulfilled, right? Like it just feels more like you, which takes me to my next question, which is about knowing yourself and to be Gretchen. I've found a lot of women, especially moms, because we're going through a different stage of life, we don't even know what we like anymore or what that feels like to be ourselves. So where can someone start if they're trying to rediscover themselves and really get back to being who they are?
Yeah, I think it's true that if you're the kind of person who's, well, whatever works for everybody, or you can lose sense. I had a very striking thing happen to me. I was at a party and I ran into somebody that I had known many years before, somebody I'd always liked but never really knew very well. And she was telling me how she'd gone on a ski trip with her family and how great it was and they'd had so much fun. And she told me all about it. And then she said, do you ski? And I said, well, you know what? I really don't like the cold and I'm really uncoordinated and I hate like a lot of equipment. And so it's great for me. My husband has a really bad knee, so we can never go skiing. And it's one of my favorite things about him is like, I'm off the hook for skiing because I just really don't like it. And she was like, oh, but it's so wonderful. And you're out in nature and it's a family adventure and it's just great. And I was like, I get it. It sounds wonderful, but it's just not something that appeals to me. And then, so she went off and I went off. We had like our own conversations and she came back to me a half an hour later and she said, you know what I realized? I don't like to ski. She didn't know she didn't like to ski. She just lost her sense of her own preferences within, because look, we all do things because somebody else enjoys them. Or I don't really like theme parks, but my whole family enjoys them. So I'll go and I'll have fun in the day, just like being part of it, even though it's like not my jam. But I do think you really do want to know, oh, I'm doing this because sometimes we do things that are fun for the whole family, even if they aren't fun for us, but we do need, and I think a fun exercise, and I'm actually doing this for Project Empty Nest, that's what I'm calling my Empty Nest book, it's called 100 Quirks. So it's 100 quirky things about me. Like I love children's books, children's literature and young adult literature, or I love indoor fountains, or just like things that are quirky about me and I think that this is an exercise that can help you get in touch with just like your quirkiness. Like what's true for you? Like my sister loves the Real Housewives franchise, right? That's something that's just about her quirkiness. And I think for some people that could be a really good exercise because of course you do your 100 quirks, which is like things you love, things you dislike, things you love to do, whatever. It's going to have a lot of clues for you because if you're looking at it and you're like, wow, a lot of things I love to do have to do with like having fun outside. Maybe I need to figure out, okay, could I join like a softball league or a pickleball team or oh, so many of these things are about TV watching. Maybe is there a way I could elevate TV watching in my life and have a group where we watch every episode together, or I'll have a finale party or whatever it might be. I think for some people that could help them get in touch with just, it's not like they're just watching whatever, they're not just going along with whatever direction other people are giving.
That is super fun. I love that. I've told you I'm really excited about this next book, but I love that idea. The 100 quirks, that makes sense and give yourself permission, right? To just say, I'm just going to write down whatever I want. Don't modify it. Don't edit it. And then look for those clues. I think that's so smart.
And don't be aspirational. Don't say, I like doing yoga. If you're like, I don't really like doing yoga. I do yoga because my friend wants to do yoga and I know it's good exercise, but do I look forward to yoga? Not particularly. You can even write down, I do yoga because I have to do yoga. But don't say you like something or that you don't mischaracterize it. Don't say I love skiing if you're actually like, now that I think about it, I don't actually like skiing. Or do you like going to football games? Maybe you're like, I like being with people, but would I go by myself? No. Do I look forward to it? Not particularly. Do I spend a minute thinking about it when I'm not there? No, I do not. It's okay. Well, then you're probably not a raving Chiefs fan. It's good to know our own quirkiness.
Yeah. Oh, those extra questions are so helpful.
What do you tell people? I think that this is a question that really comes up in the empty nest. What do you tell people with that question?
Me? Like, oh, that question? Like,
yeah, what would you say to somebody who said, I feel like I've lost myself?
Yeah, I think it's still something that I even still grapple with myself. I think part of it for me is just trying new things, just like if something sparks your interest. So an example for me was this summer, my daughter and I went to the county fair, and we actually didn't even plan on it, but our other friends were like, oh, let's just go watch this, the acrobat over here. And I'm like, okay, fine. We're going to sit down. We're going to have lunch. We'll watch the acrobat. And it was a trapeze show. And I took flying trapeze lessons in Chicago like 20 years ago. I know, that's where this is going. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching them and I'm just in awe. And I'm just like, you know what? I was never this good. I was never good. I was never off lines. I was never really good at it. But I was like, I used to do a split and I used to do that. Oh, that would be really fun. And I looked at my daughter. There were like 4 of our friends that we were with between us. And I looked behind everyone and I peeked at her and I was like, would you ever want to do that with me? And she goes, she just looked at me wide-eyed and was shaking her head yes, just so enthusiastically. And I was like, all right. I literally got my phone out. I'm Googling where can I find flying trapeze lessons? And there's one less than an hour away from us. And now we go every Sunday and it is so much fun. So I think maybe it's that moment of those little inklings of what is it that really spark that moment of, ooh, yes.
Yes, but can I put a gloss on that? You didn't go by yourself. You said, I will go with my daughter. And that's obliger. That's why I'm going, because now she wants to go and we'll go together, but you wouldn't have gone by yourself. That's not bad. That doesn't make it worse. I'm just saying that's something to note.
Sure. I do think, though, this is one of the things I said, though. If you don't like it, I'm still going because I do love it. I do love it that much, but I thought
But I wonder if you would. Have you gone by yourself? What if she dropped out?
I wonder. Ooh, that's a question. I don't know. I think I would still go because I do really love it. But I think there's also, I pay monthly, so I've paid the money, and they expect me there. I think there's an obliger aspect to that.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yes, it's a class. You pay for it. They're expecting you to come. There's the camaraderie. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But what an amazing example. I love that. That is like the quirkiest quirk I've ever heard. Super quirky. I thought you would be like, I love the circus. I was like, no, I like being a trapeze artist.
I am an aerialist now.
Yes, I am an aerialist. That's so incredibly fun. That's an amazing thing.
So I think for me, I'm trying to tap into those, what actually make me happy, like in my gut, what gives me that little moment of butterflies.
But here's something else I would point out about that is that when we're trying, like what we're talking about is identity and like feeling like you have a strong identity that you're bringing into the world and that you're not dissolved into a group. So something about what you're doing is that's very distinctive. It's like, wow, that's interesting. That's unexpected. I'll be like, oh, I remember her. She's the one who's an aerialist. But something like, I love to go to movies and watch TV. I love to walk on the beach. It's okay. That's pretty basic. It's like you want to really push yourself. I love cozy mystery British series. Or like my sister, The Real Housewives. I mean, she loves TV, but it's like really her passion for The Real Housewives is like something that's distinctive about her. That's about her identity. If I was like, oh, she's a TV writer and she watches a lot of TV, people would be like, yeah. So you want to think about something that is really makes it quirky, not just a lot of people love dogs. You're like, I volunteered at a dog shelter. I fostered 15 dogs or whatever it is. Think about how is it that it's really putting your identity into the world as like a unique person and looking for those things. Because some things that we enjoy and that we love and that are quirky. I mean, I drink a lot of coffee, but a lot of people drink a lot of coffee. There's nothing quirky about my love of coffee. But there are other people for whom they probably do it in a very identifying, quirky way.
They have specific beans that they must have, and they do this certain way. They grind it and the pour over and the...
They went to a coffee tasting course in Thai, whatever. Yeah, but again, if you're like, I love coffee, but like, how can I push it? How can I bring it more to the fore? How can I make something of it so that it makes me feel like I am learning, I am growing, I am having adventures, I'm doing things with other people, I'm pushing myself.
Yeah, what you said there just had a moment of me of I'm learning, I'm doing something that's making me grow as a human.
Yeah. That's called, in my happiness formula, that's the atmosphere of growth. And that's a really important element of happiness is that feeling of growing. It's really important. And even if your life is basically good, if we don't have a sense of growth, we can feel very stagnant.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Well, Gretchen, this has been so lovely. Before I let you go, though, I always have 3 rapid fire questions. But before we get into that, let everyone know again where they can find you, just in case they skipped through that intro.
Yeah, go to GretchenRubin.com is my website. There you can find the Four Tendencies quiz and a bunch of other fun quizzes that I have. You can read about my books like Outer Order, Inner Calm or Happier at Home or whatever. My podcast is called Happier, which I do with my sister, the one with whose closet I just cleared. And you can read about that on my website too. And I'm on social, on all the places. I also have a weekly newsletter called 5 Things Making Me Happy that you can sign up. I have a different newsletter that's on Substack that's called Secrets of Adulthood. So I'm in all the places that you might go, and I love to engage with readers and listeners about questions and observations and resources. I feel like the world is my research assistant. I love to engage in all the different places that we are these days.
Love it. You are everywhere, and it is so nice. And I am just fascinated with how you keep up with all of it. So it's fantastic. Awesome, Gretchen. Okay, so the 3 rapid fire questions. 1, what does clutter-free mean to you?
It means that I know everything that is in my house and I can find it. So I'm never like, what's under that bed? Or where is my passport? It's like, I know where everything is and I know what's there. And there's nothing else.
Yeah. Number 2, what is making you happy right now or in this season of life?
We got a new puppy named Taffy, and she's so cute and so fun. And she's basically house trained now. So that's really nice. I love having a puppy, and I love like not having to keep my eye on her every 5 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, so nice. That perfect little stage.
It's so sweet. So sweet.
Aw. And then what is a goal you have for yourself this year?
Well, I want to sell my book, Project Empty Nest, which I'm rebranding as the Open Door because nobody likes the phrase empty nest. But yeah, I've been thinking about this and doing a ton of work and talking about it. But as a book writer, you got to put that book in the process. And so I hope that I will sell the proposal. That is a big goal that I have for the rest of the year.
Oh, well, I have no doubt with your 7 bestsellers that this one will also be a bestseller and an easy sell for a publisher. So,
okay, well, hold that thought. I hope you're right.
speaking it into existence for you. Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gretchen. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. I feel like we could talk all day. We're interested in so many of the same things.
I do too. I'll have you back again sometime. Wow. Well, I am still soaking up everything Gretchen shared in this conversation. Like I said, I've been a fan of hers for a long time, but getting to connect with her directly and ask questions through the lens of decluttering and intentional living was such a treat. One of my favorite takeaways was how much power there is in small steps. Whether it's setting up a system that works for your personality or something even as simple as having a designated donation box ready to go, it doesn't have to be overhauling your entire life in one weekend. But of course, if that's more your speed, then absolutely embrace it. It is okay, though, to create these little wins that build momentum. So that's where some of the real magic can happen, especially if you've struggled in the past. All right, now I'd like to hear from you though. What stuck with you most from this episode? Are you rethinking how you approach your stuff? Did something click about your habits or your tendencies that maybe you're like, oh, that finally makes sense? Well, come and let me know. You can comment on this episode post over on Instagram. Remember, I'm at wannabeclutterfree, or you can share it in a story and tag me, or send me a DM. I truly love hearing from you. You can also join the conversation inside our private Facebook group, the Wannabe Minimalist Family, where we'll have a discussion thread for this episode. And if this episode made you think, smile, or want to take action, I would be so grateful if you left a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. You can comment and join a conversation on Spotify or YouTube, and they both really help, or all 3 of those actually really help new people find the show. All right, so also a huge thanks, of course, to Gretchen for taking the time to join us today and for continuing to share her wisdom with the world. I can't wait to read her next book. We talked about that as well on the show. And of course, don't forget to grab the full show notes and links to everything we mentioned at wannabeclutterfree.com/269. And you can also leave a comment and we can chat over there too. I'll be back next week with another amazing guest, Desiree Andres from the Minimalish podcast, and we will be talking about realistic minimalism, intentional motherhood, and finding peace in the middle of a busy life. Until then, take care, keep things simple, be open to letting go of more, and remember, I believe in you. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wanna Be Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.